There is a spiritual force that is slowly pulling the world into darkness. It is a hidden and unseen force that is operating in the shadows. It has utilized all of its spiritual resources so to deceive and seduce the entire world. The world is being inundated with the occult to such a degree that it has even infiltrated the church of the living God. The Apostle Paul warned Timothy of such a day in 1 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. We are living in such a time. If there's ever a time where we need to put on the whole armor of God and stand against the wiles of the devil, it is today. For now is the time.
Growing numbers of African American women in Maryland and across the nation are leaving traditional church worship. All of them are in search of something else, a spiritual belief that connects them to their ancestors and where they can feel more empowered to control their own well-being. They have found it in ancient forms of spiritual contact. Some call it witchcraft, a term they accept and embrace.
Apparently some Christians are practicing in church and stuff. Like churches having like women's yoga classes and stuff. So the word yoga means union, and union, it's referring to the spiritual goal and agenda of yoga, the word union. What they mean is that there's a universal impersonal spirit called Brahman, which is this force in the universe and the substance of reality, the substance of the universe. And the goal of yoga is to bring your individual self into union with this universal consciousness, this impersonal field of consciousness, where you recognize that your personal sense of self, your Atman, as they would call it, is ultimately Brahman, is ultimately God. It's ultimately an expression of this oversoul of the universe. And so when you reach this state of consciousness of realizing that, they call that moksha. So the entire goal of yoga is moksha, which is a state of being conscious that you are essentially God. Well, it's essentially what it is. So, yeah. So,
what would you say to a Christian who says, "Yeah, but I'm just doing the stretching"?
Yeah. Well, the stretches, aside from the fact that regular stretching has been shown to be just effective in treating things like back pain as yoga, the issue with yoga, I mean, one issue is that it's idolatry, because the positions that you're doing in yoga, they're meant to honor the sun, the moon, pagan deities, the polytheistic gods of Hinduism. They're named after polytheistic gods of Hinduism. And when you hit these positions, what they're meant to do is invoke the properties of these gods or the power of these gods.
I had a spiritual position and role in Donald Trump's life for 15 years. I have.
Did you bring Donald Trump to Jesus?
I've laid out the gospel very clearly, and I know that Donald is saved.
That's where it's going to get big for some people. Get ready. Go ahead. Email me now in that place. Go ahead. You tap into who you really are. You know what the Bible calls you? It says you are little Elohim. You are a little God.
Has God indeed said, "You shall not eat of every tree of the garden"?
We may eat the fruit of the trees of the garden, but of the fruit of the tree which is in the midst of the garden, God has said, "You shall not eat it, nor shall you touch it, lest you die."
You will not surely die, for God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil.